You are on Substack, yes. And please mute when we do the commercials. I'm right here. I can hear you guys perfectly. What does your clock say? 5:56? I just want to make sure that I'm aligned.
I just hit 5:57, Amy.
Okay, I got that. Thank you, Ben.
Yep.
A little echo.
Yeah, I heard that.
Mind if I do it first?
So if I talk into this, which one does it show up?
You can.
This goes to the studio audience.
Okay. So do I want to turn on the volume for this? Oh, man.
You want to turn that off.
Okay. Okay, so that can pick up and that's
Okay.
Does that sound all right?
Yeah.
Hey,
So
It's fantastic.
hey Ben.
How you doing?
All right.
and we have Patty join us to finish gets off for
We should hit some rummage sales and get you a bigger table.
this is the bigger table.
Mm-hmm. That one's full too.
Dude,
I'm gonna put a beer on it.
okay. Put the beer on. Oh, hey, Teresa. You got a cold, brother? All this technology is making me thirsty.
No. Hey, so you want me to have the bishop hang tight, right?
Yeah. Ben, did you see that I want to
I did, yeah. I looked it all over. We're good. I can just kind of improv that, ad lib that.
I'm talking about the Chris, oh, town
Hey,
found
friends. I'm going to need you to mute in a second because I'm going to start the intro.
Helicopter over Washington, D.C. in January and sued the government and the airlines involved,
accusing them of failing to recognize the
Let them hang
warning
tight in the
signs
waiting
after
room.
more than 30
And I'm
documented
playing.
near misses in the area.
They nevertheless allowed their customers to be exposed to the dangers associated with those near misses.
Attorney Bob Clifford.
There's a corporate negligence and accountability.
Oh, I see. I didn't know that.
Why are they getting audio?
That's fine.
Why are they getting audio?
The final NTSB report identifying the cause of the crash will not be released until at least next year.
Homeland Security. And a little explanation. And the Trump administration is holding back grants to some.
Are you guys hearing us?
School districts.
Schools in New York City, Chicago, and Fairfax County in Virginia missed an administration deadline to agree to stop giving students access to locker rooms and restrooms corresponding with their gender identity. The Education Department says it will not certify they are in compliance with federal civil rights law, making them ineligible for funding for specialty magnet schools. New York City schools will lose about $15 million. A department spokeswoman says public school parents have every right to expect an excellent education, not ideological indoctrination, masquerading as inclusive policy. Spokesperson for New York's Mayor Eric Adams says the federal government is threatening to defund our children's education as a tool.
No? Are we? Okay then. We went to 0. Hey, Kirk, how are you doing? Can you hear me?
I can.
can
We're
hear you.
playing our role in
Ben, can
music
you hear me?
right
Hey,
now.
Ben Cominos.
Hold on.
At
going on, Patty?
50 WHBY News Talk. Good to see you in your cubicle.
Yeah, I was trying to be in the studio. There was no camera, so here we go.
Here we go. And
Well-
I think Kirk just needs to unmute himself.
Oh, yeah.
Reminds me of COVID.
Chris, I know.
Hello, how are you doing? Amy, did you roll the music?
I rolled the music, but I could not hear the music. So we'll have to figure that out.
Okay.
It was going.
Welcome, everyone. You're here at the Up North Podcast. This is our inaugural podcast, and we have been working diligently to make this happen for you all. We have people from all over the place right now. I am actually in the Minocqua Brewing Company Madison tap room, and across the table from me is Senator Chris Larson, who is here from Milwaukee, but he was doing business in Madison today.
I'm trying to make sure it doesn't echo. Can I?
Very close.
Hi, how's it going? I'm messing.
Hello.
Should I shut off the audio from on this?
We're working out the kinks, folks. We'll get there.
So can you hear me if I'm talking into this mic or no?
Can we hear you, Chris?
I can hear him.
Okay, we can hear you, Chris. You're
Okay,
good.
perfect. That's good. Good to be here.
Welcome,
As we're-
Chris.
As we're figuring this out.
We're going to go south and say hello to Patty Vasquez. We're joining her second hour on the Driving It Home with Patty Vasquez show down on WCPT 820 AM. Thanks for joining us, Patty.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
This is great. And then flowing all the way north to Appleton is Ben Cominos, who's WHBY, but he's taken over the airwaves in northeastern Wisconsin. He writes for us regularly. Thanks for joining us, Ben.
Hey, thanks a lot, Kirk.
All right, and then my right hand gal is Amy Thomas, who's she does everything for me, but she does a lot of the political organizing. She does a lot of the Substack stuff. She's joining from Milwaukee. Hey, Amy.
Hello.
So this group today, and we're getting a little echo, Brian. This group today, should I mute myself?
I think it was
So can you still hear me if
No.
I mute?
No, don't do that.
Okay.
Please don't do that.
So this group today is all of a lot of our writers from Substack, and our Substack has become this crazy thing where we write a lot about Wisconsin politics. Sometimes Patty chimes in with Chicago politics, but it has been ranked number 9th out of all U.S. political Substacks in the nation, and it's just a bunch of us yahoos just trying to make some sense out of what's happening in our democracy in America, and especially in the Midwest. And I think it's definitely hit a nerve, and everyone writing, and Chris across from me, he writes whenever he can. He doesn't have as much time because he's got to fend off crazy laws being passed in the Madison Capitol. But this group will be ever changing, but we will always be here on Wednesdays from 6 to 7, and we will be trying to keep up with the events of the day happening, particularly in the Midwest, Wisconsin, in Illinois. In particular, there's a lot more happening with ICE in Illinois. So let's talk in our first segment. What I wanted to talk about was I got a message from a woman named Krista Lasikin, and she was a teacher in Ellsworth, and the Washington Post wrote a story about she had just been suspended because she was just posted something on Facebook that it was absurd that Charlie Kirk was getting so much press for how bad of a guy he was. She was just suspended because of that. She wrote me trying to get the word out so that we could help save her job. And so I kind of wanted to open up this first segment and talk about this post-assassination political rhetoric. Let's talk about what's going on with people that you know, or if you know anything more about this story that came out of Ellsworth. Ben, talk to me.
Yes. So honestly, I can talk to you quite a bit about this. We actually just had a conversation about this on Outside the Box yesterday with someone in the Oshkosh area going through the exact same situation here. It's a sticky situation because I, more so than I think any of the other media members on here, there's a lot of Republicans that listen to my show, a lot of liberals that listen to my show, a lot of progressives, and you're hearing a lot of people say, I expect my teachers to leave this at home, to not necessarily put it out there. But at the same time, we have to live in a world where people are comfortable saying things. And as long as you don't cross that line, this entire concept of lionizing somebody who isn't necessarily the way he's being portrayed is, it almost feels, I don't want to use the word psychotic, but it feels disconnected from reality. And again, that person in my area is named Brian in the Oshkosh area school district, going through the exact same thing here. We all have examples of this. We all see it happening all over the nation. And it's difficult to watch happen because you can kind of tell there's a concerted effort to attack anybody who talks this way. And it's kind of hard to ignore that as the objective reality that faces us right now.
Patty, what do you got?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I mean, and it feels very much like the Moms for Liberty, all these groups that have been attacking school boards. It feels like they've been looking for something to have this kind of energy behind it to control the way people talk and what they say. This idea of, sort of elevating Charlie Kirk to this level of sainthood is unsettling, to say the least. We've talked on this show about how I can abhor the violence that took his life and not celebrate him and what he stood for. I think we deserve that right, but people want to take away that ability to express yourself. And it sounds like this teacher, it was on Facebook, so they're monitoring. They're looking for reasons to get rid of people, and this has been an excuse to really bring down the hammer on people's freedom of speech. So we obviously experienced that too on our Facebook page. I might have been a bit more provocative than others about 24 hours after Charlie Kirk was assassinated, but I don't think I said anything out of turn. I was super angry with him for being a ringleader for the Second Amendment and just doing all the things that he has said that has exacerbated, I think, the problems that we're going through right now. And we got annihilated. We got about 100 bad one-star reviews, but I'm used to it. I mean, I take that on, as part of what we do at the Minocqua Brewing Company. I wanted to pass the microphone to Senator Larson because, we've had a United States congressman in the 3rd District who has now, I believe, his name is Derek Van Orden. I believe he has called for to get rid of federal funding for the Mayo Clinic because somebody in the Mayo Clinic has been writing about, not saying wonderful things about, not deifying Charlie Kirk. He is trying to defund, like, the city of Eau Claire. Can you tell us more about what you've heard about this, and from a politician standpoint, what do you make of it?
I mean, this is pre-written, right? Everything that they've been doing, they were just looking for the excuse to be able to go after folks. And what's disgusting about it is they're politicizing this death, right? And they're politicizing people's mourning or lack of mourning for it. There's no metric that can meet what their standard is, so they're going to be going after. If you look at who they're going after, they're not going after people on their side who have said abhorrent things or have done abhorrent things. They're going after teachers, public servants, people who are in the public service, and trying to start a witch hunt, right? Of saying that these are folks that need to be fired, that these are the worst of the worst, and frankly, ginning up the violence, right? And that started all the way from the top. I mean, you mentioned Van Orden, who is completely awful, and he's turned his entire Facebook page into a witch hunt. But, like, he got orders, as they all do, from Trump, who took to the Oval Office and basically turned up the temperature at a time where we should be calm, embracing each other, and frankly trying to find common ground. He decided that we're going to use this for political expedience, and that's what they've been doing for the last, I think it's 10 days now, 2 weeks. 2 weeks to the day that they've continued to go down this path. And I don't know when they're going to stop.
Ben, when are they going to stop? When is this over, or is it just the beginning?
I'd argue it's just the beginning. You're seeing what's
Yeah.
taking place in Dallas with with ICE right now, and we can jump into that pile of worms in a second. But I do want to say, in response to Derek Van Orden, this absolutely reeks of somebody. Look at me, look at me. I think Rebecca Cook probably has him nervous. I'm speculating on this, but I'm pretty sure he has bot users because he has about 48,000 people that follow him, and he never gets more than 10 likes on anything that he is saying out there. Like, and
Yeah.
you can look at the metrics on this. Like there's no way to avoid it. This guy, you could find tweets from him in May where you could not tell where Elon Musk ended and he began, and then the second Elon
Yeah.
Musk fell out of grace, bang, all of a sudden it changes. You can't take that guy seriously, and to me, it's like the Simpsons episode when all the advertisements come to life. Just don't look, and I swear to God, it goes away. I live on that Nazi site over there, so let me just say, you see him all the time. I swear to God, every fourth post I see is from him. No one's engaging those, so I feel like if you just don't pay him any mind, these guys tend to shut up.
Okay, so we've been put on lists. Companies they've been telling us, get rid of the companies that aren't deifying Charlie Kirk. Obviously, Charlie Kirk's going to be out of the news cycle. We're going to be back to Epstein. But are they using these? Patty, where does the list that they make of people they want to get fired? Where do they go from here once the news cycle on Charlie Kirk is over?
Oh, my concern is the violence, right? We're being accused of using political violence language, and the accusations are always a confession. The idea. I mean, from all of his rallies when he would say, beat that guy up. And then, of course, at the rally memorial where he was talking about how much he hated his opponents and Stephen Miller, using the language of Goebbels, saying you don't build anything, you don't make anything, you don't do. I mean, using the exact same language that was used about Jewish people. I think that this is just the beginning of trying to dehumanize liberals and anybody that's in conflict with them.
Well, thank you, Patty. You are way better at this than I am, but I think we need to go to a commercial break and at 6:18.
Yeah.
So we will do that, and we will come right back and talk a little bit more. We're going to talk to the bishop of the ELCA about his thoughts on racial profiling in a bit.
And we are broadcasting the Up North podcast with our fearless leader, Kirk Banks of Minocqua Brewing Company, also joined by Senator Chris Larson, radio host Ben Cominos, and our friend Amy Thomas, who's helping run on the show, too. More after this on WCPT 820, KKNW 1150, and KTNF AM 950.
Believe it or not, this podcast takes a lot of work behind the scenes to make Kirk & Company look like they know what they're doing. And a lot of the money that goes to pay our producers and editors comes from the sale of Progressive Beer. The Minocqua Brewing Company sells Progressive Beer all throughout Wisconsin, Minnesota, Illinois, and online to about 30 states. Never seen it? That's likely because we've been banned by distributors for our unapologetically progressive voice. To find where you can buy Progressive Beer, go to MinocquaBrewingCompany.com and click the Retail Locations tab. That's MinocquaBrewingCompany.com and click Retail Locations. We get it. Your liver is under constant attack. Alcohol is a dictator that takes away your freedom. It distracts while doing its dirty work. It weakens your judicial system and governing bodies. If you give it too much power, you'll never be the same. We have the solution. 8647 THC Hop Water. 0 alcohol, 0 calories, tastes like patriotism. 8647 THC Hop Water. Liberate your liver. Buy 8647 THC Hop Water and Joint Session, our THC Orange Cooler, by going to thc.minocquabrewingcompany.com. That's thc.minocquabrewingcompany.com. The Up North podcast is sponsored by the Minocqua Brewing Company, who sells progressive beer online across the country. If you like the show today, please consider buying one of our beer subscription packages for yourself or a loved one. You can subscribe to the Democrat, the Liberal, and the Progressive, which delivers four packs of beer to your door for 6 months, a year, or 2 years. To find where you can subscribe to get Progressive Beer delivered to your door every month, go to MinocquaBrewingCompany.com and click Progressive Beer. That's MinocquaBrewingCompany.com and click Progressive Beer. The Minocqua Brewing Company is excited to partner with Brouhaha Coffee to create woke coffee. Get woke, go broke. That's what they say, right? Au contraire, mon frère. This gourmet coffee was awarded 2025 Roast of the Year at the Coffee Break Festival in Wisconsin, and it comes in both medium and dark roasts. Support our political action and enjoy fabulous coffee at the same time. For our Up North podcast listeners, go to the MinocquaMarketplace.com, find coffee under the beverage tab, and type in Up North to get 10% off your order. That's MinocquaMarketplace.com and use the promo code UPNORTH.
Welcome back to the Up North podcast. We are here.
I think we might have heard a bunch
over
of commercials. I think we heard all the commercials. Everybody, I apologize. Go ahead, Kirk, take it away.
We got to figure out, because Patty's running her show.
Looks like we lost him.
Looks like we lost him there,
Patty. I think I just see
Patty's running her show in Chicago. I'm running our show up in Madison.
That's
This
right.
is great. We'll figure it out one of these days. But what I wanted to do now, Amy, do we have our guest?
Just let him in. He's joining right now.
Wonderful. So we have. So I wanted to introduce everyone to Bishop Paul Erickson. Hello, Bishop Erickson. I wanted to say a few words before we introduce you. I saw a video of you speaking in Milwaukee very forcefully about how, among other things, how unchristian it was for ICE to be racially profiling people and disappearing them and doing all the horrible things they're doing to them. And I called Amy up immediately, and I said, we got to get this guy. We got to talk to this guy, because he's saying everything that we all need to hear, but he's saying it from a position of the church. And I grew up in the ELCA faith as well. Bankstead, I'm sure, Larson across the hall from me. We all have probably a little bit of Lutheran in us. So welcome, Bishop. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks. Good to be with you.
Okay, so to kind of update why you were given the mic. I think there are other faith leaders there. What was going on in Milwaukee that you spoke out against, and then we can kind of move on from there.
Sure. Well, the specific cause for this press conference had to do with the Supreme Court ruling allowing racial profiling of folks in Los Angeles. And while the ruling specifically was focused on California, there is certainly precedent for this giving green light, so to speak, for ICE activity of a similar nature all across the country. And so in Milwaukee, I've been part of coalitions and done a lot of speaking and organizing and working just to make sure that we're connected to be ready, so that when ICE activity does ramp up, folks are ready to respond in a way that recognizes the dignity and humanity and constitutional rights that every resident of this country has. Some folks want to limit the rights that folks have just to citizens, but there are different rights. But certainly those who are residents in this country have the right to due process and have the right not to have people just pull them over randomly because they happen to have brown skin.
What is the faith community? What can you guys do? I mean, I know, Chris and I have been part of this resistance coalition for a long time, and we've all been talking about the different tactics we need, in order to protect people, especially, if as ICE gets bigger and now is funded to the tune of $400 billion. What is the faith community? Are you meeting together with folks from other faiths? And what are your plans to, try to resist this stuff?
Yeah, I mean, there are active networks and conversations taking place at various levels, and certainly in the interfaith community here in the state of Wisconsin. We're kind of gearing up for not if, but when ICE activity ramps up. And so we have to make sure that we continue. We have a voice that we have a platform that we can use and articulate a message that recognizes the God-given rights of every person, that every person is created in the image and likeness of God and is worthy of dignity and respect. And that's a message that I would hope can be communicated across the political divides. The ELCA, I'm Bishop of the Greater Milwaukee Synod, the southeastern 7 counties in the state. But across the ELCA, we're a pretty purple church. But I would hope that we could all recognize that every single human being is created in the image likeness of God and is worthy of love, dignity, and respect. If we can agree on that, we can go a whole lot further. If we're denying the humanity of others, we have nothing to talk about.
Ben, what are you finding? Or Patty, somebody chime in. I remember I saw faith leaders in Jersey that were holding each other's hands when they were trying to make sure that ICE, that those Congress people could get in and inspect ICE. What are you seeing in, Patty? What are you seeing in Chicago?
I haven't heard actually that much from a wide swath of religious leaders yet. I mean, we know the electeds have been there, and I'm sure that there are religious leaders who are working with the mutual aid foundations and a lot of the groups that are trying to make sure that people are safe. But it isn't that because in part the visuals of women being thrown and put into chokeholds and having weapons pointed at their face is grabbing the headlines. I don't think that we're seeing those who are trying to articulate the same things that the pastor, is it pastor? I apologize.
Bishop.
I'm
Bishop, pastor,
Bishop.
Paul.
Bishop. Hi, Bishop. I have a very eclectic religious background. I was
That's all right.
baptized. I was baptized Mormon, confirmed Lutheran, and married in the Catholic Church. So I have sort of a wide range of experiences. But I do think it's important to have religious leaders because here's the thing is that the religious leaders that have been backing Trump have given him cover. And then this sort of elite Catholic sect in D.C., the Opus Dei, right? That is kind of this part of this driving force to create this Christian nationalist country. And they don't operate on we are all created in the image of God, that we are all, that we are all created equal, that we all deserve dignity, respect, and safety. And that's really hard to come to terms with.
Yeah, as far as Northeast Wisconsin goes, I have not seen a lot in terms of where religious leaders kind of intersect with this. What I've been kind of interacting with is just local sheriff departments. Because of the purple nature of this neck of the woods, I feel like they might be, I don't want to say tiptoeing, but there's definitely a little bit more consternation in how they address this. The last numbers I saw, I think over the course of a 3-month period, 30 individuals were turned over to ICE over the course of 3 months, which would I rather that be zero? Yes. But it seems like comparatively to some of the larger metropolitan areas like Milwaukee, like Chicago, Appleton, Green Bay, and the rest of the Fox cities kind of are moving at a much more, I don't know if respectful is the right word, but a much more a slower pace than I think what's going on in a lot of the bigger areas.
Bishop, we have about 3 minutes before the end of this segment, and I wanted to get into something you alluded to. Your church, and I believe some others, have joined in to another lawsuit that tries to slow ICE down. Can you talk a little bit about that? I think that's been more timely as of the last week or so.
Sure. There's been for many decades a policy that restricted ICE activity in sensitive locations, schools, churches, hospitals. And that was suspended on day one of the Trump administration. There were a couple lawsuits filed initially. We didn't join those, but there was a later lawsuit filed at the end of July. There are 5 of my colleague bishops across the country joined with some Baptists and some Quakers to file a new lawsuit that basically says ICE needs to stay out of churches because it's having a negative impact on the ability of people to worship freely. It's a violation of our First Amendment rights to have a free expression of our religion if we have to worry about ICE walking in and arresting people during worship. Now, that hasn't happened to a significant degree, but just the threat of it happening has had a chilling effect on worship attendance and participation in other programs put on by churches because folks who have, whether or not they have citizenship status or not, if they have brown skin, they're afraid. And they're staying home, and that's impacting the ability of churches to do what we are called to do.
How can they possibly go into churches and arrest people? Has that actually happened? Or is it the threat of it?
There have been places where they have got, yes, where they have not in the Milwaukee area, not yet, but they can, and that's the thing. There have been a couple places where they have had ICE activity parked right across in parking lots of churches and right around churches. So people are rightly afraid. And I think that's the biggest thing that I want you to know is that, you know, we have Latino ministries in our denomination, and the level of fear and anxiety and stress is higher than I've ever seen it. And that's certainly not, that plays out in other ways that are simply not healthy. And I think fear is the point. And I think we've got to stand up and say that we are not going to have a society based on fear. We're going to have a society based on love and dignity and respect. And we have to work together to make that happen.
Absolutely.
There's a story that migrants were arrested in Los Angeles at Los Angeles area churches back in June, and I do want to make sure I mentioned that here in Chicago, the Chicago Sun-Times reported that there was an interfaith clergy protest at the Great Lakes Naval Station, which is where the ICE agents have been also housing, but not at I know that they must have also been coming to Broadview. So there were pastors and ministers and reverends that were at the Great Lakes Naval Base.
Thank you so much, Bishop Erickson. We will be sure to get in touch with you soon, I'm sure. Thank you so much.
Looking forward. Thanks so much. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Believe it or not, this podcast takes a lot of work behind the scenes to make Kirk and Company look like they know what they're doing. And a lot of money that goes to pay our producers and editors comes from the sale of our progressive t-shirts. The Minocqua Brewing Company sells t-shirts to supplement our beer sales because we've been banned by beer distributors for our unapologetically progressive voice. To find where you can buy our t-shirts, go to MinocquaMarketplace.com and go to Apparel. For Up North podcast listeners, get 10% off on all of our merch by going to MinocquaMarketplace.com and typing in promo code UpNorth. That's MinocquaMarketplace.com, promo code UpNorth. The Up North podcast is sponsored by the Minocqua Marketplace, or what we like to call the Amazon for progressives. Every product sold on the Minocqua Marketplace is made by a company that's pledged to never donate money to the MAGA movement. There's over 60 companies on our marketplace.
Kirk, so am I leading the way when I come back?
Detergents to doormats.
When we come back,
Save democracy with your wallet by shopping only at MinocquaMarketplace.com. For Up North podcast listeners, save 10% on any order in the store by going to MinocquaMarketplace.com and typing in promo code UpNorth. That's MinocquaMarketplace.com, promo code UpNorth. We get it. Your liver is under constant attack. Alcohol is a dictator that takes away your freedom. It distracts while doing its dirty work. It weakens your judicial system and governing bodies. If you give it too much power, you'll never be the same. We have the solution. 8647 THC hop water. 0 alcohol, 0 calories, tastes like patriotism. 8647 THC hop water. Liberate your liver. Buy 8647 THC hop water and joint session our THC orange cooler by going to thc.minocquabrewingcompany.com. That's thc.minocquabrewingcompany.com. The Minocqua Brewing Company is excited to partner with Brouhaha Coffee to create woke coffee. Get woke, go broke. That's what they say, right? Au contraire, mon frère. This gourmet coffee was awarded 2025 Roast of the Year at the Coffee Break Festival in Wisconsin, and it comes in both medium and dark roasts. Support our political action and enjoy fabulous coffee at the same time. For our Up North podcast listeners, go to the MinocquaMarketplace.com, find coffee under the beverage tab, and type in Up North to get 10% off your order. That's MinocquaMarketplace.com and use the promo code UpNorth.
All right, guys, we are back to the Up North podcast. You're hearing the voice of Ben Cominos of Outside the Box on WHBY Radio. Leading the way for us here is Kirk Bankstead with Minocqua Brewing Company. You guys know that face and voice at this point. Of course, we have Patty Vasquez of Driving It Home with Patty Vasquez on WCPT 820. Chris Larson, state senator in my state here, Wisconsin, doing a fantastic job as per usual, and Amy Thomas holding us all together as she is wont to do. We just wrapped up a great conversation with Bishop Paul Erickson, who had a fantastic perspective on the way religion could, religious services and different people involved in the community might be able to push back against ICE. And we're going to continue that conversation here, but from a different perspective. California, I'm sure if you're listening to this podcast, you're probably already well aware that there is a bill that has been signed, Senate Bill 627, requiring ICE agents to remove their masks. I think something with any element of common sense would probably get behind here, because we know where masked police forces can oftentimes lead us here. And Kirk, the reason I'm setting this up here is because you've kind of got some wheels in motion here in our own state here, and I want you to kind of elaborate on what the game plan is.
Yeah, so it became obvious, there's so many different kind of wheels spinning in terms of the resistance movement that a lot of us are involved in. I mean, a lot of us are protesting whenever these huge protests happen. There's one happening, like the No Kings protest is happening on October 18th. There's different ways that people are plugging in, but, and the legislatures in blue states are digging in, blue governors are digging in, and people are suing all over the place and trying to engage our judges and engage the ones that are still have courage to do the right thing, as opposed to our Supreme Court. And so but to me, consistently, the real the real emergency that is happening is, are people being harmed, violently harmed and disappeared on the streets? And we're seeing it in Chicago most prevalently now. And so in my mind, we had to do something. And in Wisconsin, we're always a little bit behind the curve. Things aren't going to start in Wisconsin like they do in LA. They're not going to even start in Wisconsin like they do in Chicago. And so we always have a little time to see what's on the horizon before, not always, I should say. As Bishop Erickson would say, there's probably some folks in Milwaukee hurting really badly right now. But we generally have a little more time to prepare. And so I saw all this violence, and I started calling because I'm a brewer with a loud mouthpiece, but I am not the Attorney General of Wisconsin. And the Attorney General of Wisconsin, or the Governor of Wisconsin, has a lot more power than me to potentially sue the federal government to stop ICE from masking themselves, hiding their insignia, basically acting like masked criminals, and to the point where somebody could dress up like them and look exactly like them and actually be a criminal, which is happening all over the country, assaulting women under the name of ICE because nobody knows who they really are because they're masked. And so I called on Attorney General Josh Kaul for at least 2 months this summer to sue ICE to unmask them because this was happening in California. Unfortunately, and we'll talk to Chris in a second, the legislature in Wisconsin is still, the majority is still Republican. So it's hard to get things passed legislatively here. So after calling for Josh Kaul to sue and not getting any response, which has been the case for too long in the last 4 years, we decided, our super PAC decided to sue to unmask ICE in Wisconsin, and we sued in the Western District of Federal Court. We did a class action lawsuit because everyone is in danger, not just people of color, but everyone is in danger if you have federal agents able to use masks and to hide their insignia and to take people off the streets. So that's where we filed it. And, things kind of move slowly in the federal courts, but something had to be done in Wisconsin. And that is what we did. But I wanted to give the mic to Senator Larson because they're trying something very similar or exactly the same in the legislature right now. Chris.
Thank you. Thanks, Kirk. Yeah, we are just looking for the basics, which is that if you are law enforcement in the state of Wisconsin, that you have to identify yourself as law enforcement, that you have to show your face, you have to have a badge, and you have to show your name and badge number, as anybody in law enforcement would do. This is a matter of public trust. I think that there's a tendency for people to, especially knowing, as Kirk had outlined, there's people who are cosplaying as ICE agents, right? And it doesn't take that much. You pick up truck, mask, and cover your head, and just roll up. And this has happened to the horror of the people who are on the other end of it, where they've shown up and assaulted folks. So we introduced a piece of legislation that is requiring anybody who's in law enforcement to make sure that they're following the same standards. Identify yourself as law enforcement at the onset. Make sure you're publicly displaying your badge and your name. So it's pretty common sense. And I think that there is we don't know who these folks are. I think Homan was the guy who's saying, well, we don't want them to be public. But if you're in the public service, you should be out there and held accountable. We had Bishop Paul Erickson on here, and he's still watching. But the folks who are putting themselves out there, like the teachers who have said things, they're getting attacked. And I have this image in my head from a couple days ago of the pastor down in Chicago who was down protesting the ICE agents, where they had their faces covered. And he was there in his collar and black clothes as a priest. And he was attacked. And the idea that they're covering their faces because they don't want to be held accountable is the opposite of what we should want for anybody in government. And I find it strange to say out loud, I don't trust the federal government if they are not presenting themselves in an open and transparent way. And I would think that that should be a bipartisan thing, to say that you don't want to have government officials be able to abuse you and hide your identity for fear of retribution. There should be public accountability that goes along with what you do in the name of the public.
And Senator, don't you think I think it makes law enforcement in general safer? I don't know why we can't make the argument that we also want our men and women who are serving as police officers or sheriffs, we want them all to be safe. As you mentioned, this is about accountability. It also improves community trust. It also de-escalates these heated exchanges. I think that this makes everyone safer if we can see who they are and have their badges exposed. And if they have documents that prove that they're looking for who they're looking for. All these elements are important.
Absolutely. I mean, there was the horrific case where an ICE agent shot and killed somebody who they were trying to apprehend. And if you watch the footage, it doesn't look like they ever presented who they actually were, you know? And so this guy could have been thinking, and we will never get his perspective because he was killed. He could have been thinking, these guys are kind of trying to carjack me, they're trying to kidnap me, and if they never presented themselves, frankly, you know, that makes them less safe if they're not identifying themselves. So this should be a standard for everybody to make sure we're all operating within the bounds of the law, which is it shouldn't be radical to say.
No, I mean, so bringing this all back, I mean, we've been talking heads about it in a very calm way, but it's absolutely absurd. The world we're living in is absurd. Having masked men disappearing us off the streets is absurd, and it needs to be fought back with as much force as we possibly can. Not only in a lawsuit, but in tens of thousands of people showing up in the fences, in the ICE facilities. The more people that show up, the fewer people that they can pick on and harm. But I wanted to move on because Senator Larson's not going to join us every single week. And he is, in the lion's den of both legislation that he's proposing that is trying to protect democracy in Wisconsin, but also legislation being proposed by the Republican Party under Robin Vos, who is seemingly still under the thumb of Donald Trump, trying to hurt our democracy. So I wanted to kind of get a legislative report from you while we have you here. What's happening good on the pro-democracy front, and what's not so good?
Yeah. I mean, it's a pretty sleepy lion's den, if you're going to use that metaphor. We are not meeting at all. We haven't met since before the 4th of July in the Senate. We're not scheduled to meet at all in September. The indications, we don't have a date on the calendar yet, but we're expected to be in 2 more days between now and the end of the year. 2 more days. So as you go around and you think about all the problems that we've got and the things that people can't solve on their own and the role of government to try and, get involved and stand up for the public good, people's lives are not being made better. And for the folks over at the Capitol, it's under Republican control, still slightly gerrymandered. They think everything's fine. And if they are doing anything, it's mostly messaging stuff. So they're putting out messaging legislation that doesn't have any chance of being signed by the governor. But we are doing stuff. We are getting together. We are putting out our bills. And one of those bills is making sure that we expand what the forms of acceptable ID are going to be in the state of Wisconsin. We have highly restricted voter identification, which has now been galvanized in our state constitution. So expanding that to make sure that this is easier for folks who are eligible to vote are not blocked from doing that. So we know that Republicans aren't a fan of that because the more people that vote, the more representative democracy we have, the more people who are not going to vote for them. But this is a marker. Right? When Democrats do get into power again, hopefully within 2 years when we get a trifecta and get the governor's office, this is a marker to be able to say we want to make sure we have a healthy and robust democracy, and this would help us do that. Also, we have a bill to set hours for in-person absentee early voting to, again, make sure that that's not restricted so that people, if they're going to be busy on Election Day, Election Day should be a holiday. It's not. People should have time to get off of work and go. By law, you can do that if you pre-notify your boss. Most people don't know that. We want to make sure it's as open and accessible as possible. So setting a clear standard for everyone across the state to vote early and make sure that their voice is heard in our democracy. Those are a couple of the bills we're working on.
Ben.
Senator Larson, before we wrap up this segment here, I did want to ask, back when Governor Evers delivered the State of the State, he brought up a possibility of creating a government agency that would audit healthcare companies in Wisconsin that were turning down healthcare claims.
Yep.
And I feel like that entire conversation kind of died in the state of the Senate. And I feel like, given the interaction that I've had on my show, there's very few things that generate more frustration than healthcare right now. Is there anything in the works here with Democrats in Wisconsin trying to push back against that specifically? Because, not telling you how to do the job, but I feel like that would probably resonate with a lot of people.
No, that's your role, is to call your legislators and call us out and tell us to put this stuff forward. Now, I was thrilled with when the governor put that forward and was on my feet cheering for him, because I think we should hold those. It's insurance companies that should be held accountable if they are rejecting claims from folks, because that is what they're paid to do. So yeah, we're actually going to introduce a whole healthcare package, which includes making sure that hospitals are actually earning their nonprofit status. A lot of them ride on that, but they act as no different, indistinguishable from corporations who are just trying to reject as many people as they can who can't pay, and then paying their executive board high salaries while reducing staff. So it's gotten to dangerous levels. So yeah, absolutely, we want to do things to be able to tackle the healthcare industry. I wouldn't say we have a healthcare system in our country, but we're working on it.
And with that, we will take one more break and come back. And I think the bishop is still with us. We might get a benediction at the end of this.
Believe it or not, this podcast takes a lot of work behind the scenes to make Kirk and Company look like they know what they're doing. And a lot of the money that goes to pay our producers and editors comes from the sale of Progressive Beer. The Minocqua Brewing Company sells Progressive Beer all throughout Wisconsin, Minnesota, Illinois, and online to about 30 states. Never seen it? That's likely because we've been banned by distributors for our unapologetically progressive voice. To find where you can buy Progressive Beer, go to MinocquaBrewingCompany.com and click the Retail Locations tab. That's MinocquaBrewingCompany.com and click Retail Locations. The Up North podcast is sponsored by the Minocqua Marketplace, or what we like to call the Amazon for Progressives. Every product sold on the Minocqua Marketplace is made by a company that's pledged to never donate money to the MAGA movement. There's over 60 companies on our marketplace, and we sell everything from nuts to detergents to doormats. Save democracy with your wallet by shopping only at MinocquaMarketplace.com. For Up North podcast listeners, save 10% on any order in the store by going to MinocquaMarketplace.com and typing in promo code UpNorth. That's MinocquaMarketplace.com, promo code UpNorth. The Up North podcast is sponsored by the Minocqua Brewing Company, who sells Progressive Beer online across the country. If you like the show today, please consider buying one of our beer subscription packages for yourself or a loved one. You can subscribe to the Democrat, the Liberal, and the Progressive, which delivers four packs of beer to your door for 6 months, a year, or 2 years.
Oh, yeah, my bad.
To find where you can subscribe to get Progressive Beer delivered to your door every month, go to MinocquaBrewingCompany.com and click Progressive Beer. That's MinocquaBrewingCompany.com and click Progressive Beer. Believe it or not, this podcast takes a lot of work behind the scenes to make Kirk and Company look like they know what they're doing. And a lot of money that goes to pay our producers and editors comes from the sale of our Progressive t-shirts. The Minocqua Brewing Company sells t-shirts to supplement our beer sales because we've been banned by beer distributors for our unapologetically progressive voice. To find where you can buy our t-shirts, go to MinocquaMarketplace.com and go to Apparel. For Up North podcast listeners, get 10% off on all of our merch by going to MinocquaMarketplace.com and typing in promo code UpNorth. That's MinocquaMarketplace.com, promo code UpNorth.
And we are proud to be broadcasting as a part of the Up North podcast. Of course, joining us are Ben Cominos, Senator Chris Larson. Ben Cominos, by the way, from WHBY. His show is Outside the Box. And Kirk Banks, the fearless leader of Minocqua Brewing Company. You can subscribe to the newsletter. Please subscribe to the Substack. You can read the work that Senator Larson, Ben Cominos, Kirk, and a slew of other talented writers do every single week. And we want to end on some good news today. Is there good news? Is there such a thing, Kirk? Is that happening? Do we have good news?
What are those words?
Yeah, right. What does that mean?
We've had some good news. I didn't watch it last night. Did anybody watch Jimmy Kimmel's monologue or whatever?
I caught highlights.
Me too. Yeah.
By the way, Bishop, we're going to bring you back on, Bishop, so don't leave anytime soon. So that was good news. Kimmel was brought back, I know that I called for everybody listening to all of on our channels to unsubscribe to Disney. It seemed like that happened in mass. What are you? Did you hear from on your shows, Ben or Patty or Ben? I mean, were people unsubscribing and trying to do that stuff?
Yeah, I wrote in your article. Marvel Zombies came out today, and I don't have Disney Plus right now because I unsubscribed to it. There were plenty of people in the area frustrated by it. I've got a strong pro First Amendment, and what's awesome is it was everybody. Everybody was doing it. A nerve was touched with that one.
That's
which
great.
is good.
So that, to me, so this last segment, and we're going to try to move in. We always got to end on a positive note, on a note of hope. Another thing that happened, even though it shouldn't have happened, Farm Aid, which Willie Nelson's been running for a really long time, had more of a there was more of a need this year because farmers across America are losing their farms because of Trump's tariff policies. So although the reason that we need to save farmers is ridiculous and just dumb, yet again there was a wonderful outpouring of help for our farmers in America. Anybody want to comment on that?
Yeah, I mean, I wrote about this last week about, when you own the libs and lose the farm. I do think we need to support our farmers. I was uncomfortable with the sort of the mockery and not having empathy. And I get that because they voted for this and they have voted for not just for Trump, but going back all the way from the 80s, when they're talking about how, Reagan really looked out for them and Farm Aid was amazing. We know that our country relies on the work that they do, the food that they provide, the industry of agriculture. But it's hard to say they didn't ask for it, but I do think we need to support our farmers in rural areas.
And I would also add on to that, just saying, I second, first of all, that there should be empathy no matter who we voted for here. But I have farmer family friends back in Western Pennsylvania where I grew up. And I can tell you right now, with a lot of things I talk about on my show, Democrats had them in a better position than what Republicans were doing, but it sure as hell wasn't good. And I think that's an important distinction to make here as well. If we're going to win in 2026 and beyond, it's got to be more than, wasn't it better 2 years ago? A lot of them would tell you slightly, but definitely not good. So there's got to be another step beyond that we're going.
Yep. Yeah, because last year the bankruptcies for farmers was up 55%, and that was under Biden. So it's going to be worse this year. They're saying in Arkansas, it's 1 in 3 farmers are looking at bankruptcy. It's worse in places like Kansas. Illinois is having trouble. Pennsylvania is having trouble trying to get workers because of the immigration rate. So this is the one I think we need to be paying attention to are our farmers.
There's a lot, and
as
frankly,
we have 30 billion in Argentina. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no. We have frankly a very good case to make to farmers too. I think there's a tendency to avoid it, but I mean they've been moved towards corporate consolidation for a really long time, and frankly that is not what most Americans want in their food. And Democrats are right there to make sure, let's actually move back to fostering small farms closer to home, and by doing that, by investing in them, making sure that they can invest in the next generation. And beyond that, they need good public schools. They need good quality health care because most of them are living just skimming above the poverty line, and they don't want to be.
We're going to need those farmers when the stuff hits the fan and mutual aid elements of the resistance kick into high gear with the faith communities. Those farmers and the farmers are going to be given the food. The faith communities are going to be where everybody's going to go pick it up when Trump gets really hardcore on us all, I believe. I wanted to check in one more. I haven't talked about it. You guys probably have. This is a weekly show, so you've probably all hashed it out already. But this Gen Z Nepal ousting, to me, this is the best indicator that we actually have agency in America, that Trump wants us to all be afraid and to cower, but we know that there's more of us than there are of MAGA, and we've been given an example of the folks of Nepal have risen up against their government, and their MAGA world and their Trumps had to be airlifted out of their capital, which to me was just put a smile on my face. They figured out how to get rid of corruption in this tiny little country. Anybody want to jump in there?
I love that story. I'm probably on a list right now because I've been talking about that story so much. I think it's a fantastic. It really is, in a time when things feel so desolate and so difficult to try and see an end to where this is. The idea that many people, not only did they overthrow the corruption of the government, anyone who was looting, the Gen Z people would walk up and be like, "You put that stuff back. We're not doing this. We're rebuilding what was." And God, if we could even capture 10 to 20% of that, I think we'd be in a great position right now.
Well, and perhaps that's part of why, the Trump administration is trying so hard to harness the outrage of young white men through this assassination of Charlie Kirk, is to make them think that, like, we're on your side. Don't turn on us. And that's part of what scares me with the sort of constantly trying to deify him. I mean, they really are. The guy today said they want to put him on a coin in Congress.
Well, it's because the economy's bad, Patty. Like, what is he gonna talk about that's gonna bring MAGA to come and vote in 2026? Hey, look how expensive everything is. You still can't have a house.
Yeah, I'm just saying. I hope they're not falling for it. I hope that the outrage does rise to the level of the ways in which they've been.
Yep. Sorry, Patty. As much as they are trying to distract, right? At some point, people are going to realize that they are getting screwed over by this administration, and that their lives are not better off. And as much as they try and rig the system, even just trying to fiddle with interest rates and shifting the news so they can only have good news, I think people are going to figure it out. People are figuring it out. We just have to exercise those muscles here in America, and looking at places like Nepal and looking at places like France, where they are able to push back against authoritarian governments. We are. I think we should start handing those scripts out so people know what to do here.
We are going to hand the scripts out, I think, next week or the week after, when John Shelton joins us. We have to get labor involved. I mean, they're involved. I want them to be involved to the level of a general strike, or at least talking about it, which I don't think they're there quite yet. So next week we'll talk about labor. I wanted to talk one more thing. The rallies on October 18th. Bishop Erickson, will you be marching on October 18th, or with other faith-based folks for the No Kings rally?
I'll be certainly taking a look at it. I haven't looked at my calendar yet, so I'm not exactly sure how that's all going to work or where that's going to be, but certainly we all need to show up together.
I appreciate you being here, and I wanted to include you more on the talk. This is our first show, and so I don't have a chat button. I wanted to include you in it, but before the end of the show, could you end it with a benediction so that we all can kind of have something to think about when we leave each other?
This is my favorite benediction. May you be blessed with discomfort, at easy answers, half-truths, and superficial relationships, so that you may live deep in your heart. May you be blessed with anger, at injustice, oppression, and exploitation of people and the earth, so that you will work for justice, equity, and peace. May you be blessed with tears, to shed for those who suffer, so that together you find strength and hope in knowing that you are not alone. May you be blessed with foolishness, to think that you can make a difference in the world, so that you will do the things that others say cannot be done.
Thank you so much, Bishop Erickson. I really appreciate you being here today. Thank you.
I wish you to applaud.
we can applaud. Thanks a lot.
All right. Thank you. Keep up the good work.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you, Bishop.
I always do a show, and I'm not letting you go. And if you want to be a part of it, I always do a show right before Christmas where we play all of the most beautiful. My father was a choral conductor. He went to Gustavus. I believe you did too. My father and we always play Christmas carols, and we talk about how the meanings to these carols
We
are
are
so
going to
progressive.
sign off with Up North podcast because it's our time to turn to
Okay,
the station.
Sarah Lady, we got to go.
Our next show. Thank you so much, Lady B. Thank you to our friends up north. Thank you to KKNW, KPNM, and of course WCPT.
Right, thanks,
Good night,
everyone.
everybody.
Goodbye.
Woot woot.
Okay.
Awesome stuff, guys.
Thanks a lot, everyone.
She-
Appreciate it.
Yeah, that
you
was
were
fun.
saying, 'cause you were gonna start singing, and she was like, "We got it."
I'll email you,
Cut the
Paul. Thank
mics.
you.
Thank you, guys.
That's awesome. Can I close the Zoom?
I think so. I'm going to roll. Amy, nice finally meeting you. Kirk, good seeing you. We good for next week?
Yeah, I know. I know what you're saying.